Hello. Well, today I would like to talk very carefully about the Gregorian Reformation. This is a question of church history. It's a question of Gregorian Reformation. Now here, for me to be understandable, to make myself clear, I will just give a talk about this Reformation by following the following headings. The first one would be the heading. This will be about before the state of the church and the empire before the attack of the Vikings. Then I will talk about the attack of the Vikings. Then after the attack of the Vikings, I will talk about the rise of feudalism. Then after the feudalism, talking about the feudalism, I will talk about the lay investiture, the birth of lay investiture. Then after that, I'm going to talk about the clan monastery. Then finally I will come to the Reformation proper. These things are well connected. If you understand me very clearly from the first point, from the first heading to the last heading, you are going to get the whole picture, at least the whole picture about the Gregorian Reformation. Let me start with this question: the state of the empire and the church before the attack of the Vikings. Actually, before the attack of the Vikings, the state and the church were actually growing towards weakness. Growing towards what? Weakness and wickedness. What I mean here? I mean here that after the death, considering the church and the empire, there is somebody who was lacking, who was just making sure that there is a harmony between the empire and the church. This was Charlemagne, the emperor, actually was very good at the at leadership in such a way that during his reign, the church was strong and the empire was strong. But after his death, in the church, there were things which occurred which actually made the church to be weak. And in the state, there are things which occurred which made the state to be weak. What are those things that occurred to the state, to the church, and made it weak? First of all, the struggle for purpose. The struggle for having the Pope from the Roman nobilities, from the families, from the curia. These things made the church to be weak, because this struggle ended up by putting into power the popes who were incompetent, popes who were not religious, popes who had no power. See? However, nevertheless, the popes who were being put there ruled for a short duration because of being maybe poisoned and killed and so on and so on. So we have the popes who ruled for a short duration and popes who were very weak. You see? So the church was growing weaker in terms of leadership. To get that point. Nevertheless, now let us talk about the state of the empire. The empire too, after the death of Charlemagne, all the same was growing weaker and weaker. This is because of the weakness of the emperors who were ruling the state. For instance, Louis the Pious was left by Emperor Charlemagne to rule. This man did a mistake of dividing the empire among his sons. Among his sons, Lothar, Charles, and those people. Well, Charles and Louis, he made the mistake. And these people these people were reigning the empire. All the same were weak. They were constantly fighting one another. Who is going to be the leader of us, or who is this such and such powers? Now finally we have to make a point. Before the attack of the Vikings, the church and the state were growing very weak. Now let me shift to the point of the Viking attack, the attacking of the Vikings. These Vikings were merciless, cruel, very cruel people. They attacked the state and the church as well. As far as the church, these people attacked all the monasteries. They plundered all the monasteries, weakening everything, putting down every monument, everything. And as far as the state, every king that you know, every emperor was swept off, swiped off. Such a way at the end of the time, the Vikings made the church to be weak because it lost the church. She lost their land, she lost her property into the hands of the faithful. Moreover, even the empire itself now grew weaker because once the emperors were dead, now the empire now was distracted or subdivided into small divisions called duchies. And this is when the duchies actually they got their leaders. Every duke has a duke. Now you can imagine the state which had got 3 emperors now is in the hands of many leaders called dukes. Every duke has got his own duchy. See? So there are so many leaders. The empire is no longer mentioned. The empire does not exist, but only a small unit called the duchy. So the Viking attack, the attack of the Viking, weakened the church by making the church lose all the property, lose the land, lose everything. And the state was now weakened to the extent of losing its existence as a state, as the empire. And now the state existed as a duchy. Now that was the attack of the Viking. Now you can see what is going to happen. Then after that, when the war happens, now after the war, we talk about aftermath. After the war, the church was poor. No land. Every property is confiscated. And the empire is no longer in existence. So no emperors anymore, but dukes. And in the state there, citizens are poor. Citizens are poor. They only depend on the dukes who have got land for help. And unfortunately, consequently, feudalism gets upward. Feudalism occurs. And by feudalism now, it also affects the church and the state. In the state, feudalism is the rise of feudalism. Few people own the land, and these few people employ many people to work in those lands for sustenance. That's the problem of feudalism. But not at all. These few people who own land actually are also greedy. They like to add more lands. And by so doing, they start to get into fight. One duke after another. One duke fighting with the strong duke fighting the weak one. The weak one now is then surrendered to the strong one. So the duke is now also growing in size. Now as far as the church is concerned, the church has no land. Now how is the church helped? There are some people who just pioneer to offer the land. That let me offer the land and the house and everything which will be taking in the church. I'm the one who is going to be controlling it. So if I'm the one who is going to be controlling it, that means I am the one who is responsible even to put the priest to work in that church. And I'm the one responsible to pay that priest who works in that church. I am the one to know. So you can see now the lay gets power to put on the priest into office. And now because of that, people are poor. Due to poverty, people rush to be priests. They want to be priests. They say, let me become a priest. I want to be a priest. Because if I'm a priest, I'm going to be protected. And therefore, consequently, simony, nepotism, gets its upper hand on the church. You can be a priest. Simony, nepotism gets its upper hand. The ecclesiastical offices are being sold. and nepotism, the sons of those people owning the land are the ones becoming the priests. You see? And unfortunately and consequently, the priests who are put on power are illiterate. Oh my God, illiterate. Even no sense of bias, no sense of God, just working worldly and secularly. Actually, this is very amazing, but it is a result of feudalism. So you can see, moreover, even the popes now who are being put on the positions of that power of controlling the whole church, all the same are weak. And we're going to find that there is a long list of popes. And one of the popes who is very, very unique in this aspect is Pope John the 12th and Leo the 8th. These popes are the worst ever popes who have touched the surface of the earth. But we pray for them. Now you can see that point, that feudalism, as far as the state, the empire, people are poor, but some duchies are growing stronger. As far as the church is concerned, proprietary church system arises, where the landowners possess the church. Landowners make arrangement for everything that has taken place in the church, including even choosing the priests. So we have seen feudalism, the attack of the Viking, and before the attack of the Viking. Now let us speak something which happens in feudalism, which makes lay investors be born. Of course, as I've told you about the effect of feudalism as regards to the church, that the priests now are being put into power by the laity. These people, the lay are the ones who propose the names to the bishops. Let this man be a priest. So you can see the lay investors begin taking an upper hand in the church. Just begin with the lay themselves. But now in the state, these duchies which emerged strong after the fight, now they too have got that sense of what should we do to retain that empire which existed in the times of Charlemagne? You see? So the idea, the sense of having the empire again come in the upper minds. See, let us do something. Let us do something to retain the empire. Let us do something. And now, Otto, the person called Otto from Germany, from the strongest duke, says, now we have to do something which Charlemagne did for me to get into power so that I can rule the whole empire. And in his mind, he goes to the Pope John the 12th, say, may you crown me, may you make for me at least attain the coronation, so that people can recognize me as their emperor, as they recognize the Charlemagne. And without a hesitation, this Pope John the 12th crowns this man to be an emperor. And now, that's the lay investor is now going to be born properly from the coronation of Otto. Otto now sees the problem in the empire is that the empire is divided into duchies, and every duchy continues to exist because it is in the hands of some people. Now what are we going to do? This man starts appointing bishops in places of duchies so that to have the power over the duchies. He appoints bishops because bishops are intelligent, and most bishops at the time had no sons, had no daughters, meaning that if it happens that they are put on the power to rule the duchies, when they will die, when these bishops will die, finally the duchy will be back to the emperor. See, so the bishops are now put into position to power. So now the emperor himself is putting the bishops into power. The lay is proposing the priest. The emperor is putting into power the bishop. What a marvelous thing. So that's the point, Max. This is what I want to tell you. The birth of lay investiture. See, the bishop is crowned by the king. Is just given the insignia, the question, the ring. Take this in the name of the emperor. Everything, including the land, including all the fiefs, you have to return them to me. When you die, return back the question, the ring. I am the one who put into the power. So lay investiture gets its name proper. Now, after that, people now begin to feel, oh my God. They look at the church and say, this church which was once ruled by the apostles, bishops like St. Ignatius of Antioch, bishops like Clement of Rome, popes, now in the hands of the emperor and the lay. The emperor putting into power the bishop and the lay proposing the priest. Oh my God, something has to occur. Something has to happen. So men who are very courageous had to look. Now remember, after the attack of the Vikings, I have to remind you, the monasteries were plundered. And the abbots, who were very poor at that time, became brigands, just invading other monasteries so as to get there, to accumulate the wealth to sustain themselves. So even the monasteries were all poor. Now, then these people had to decide, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? And then William, from the land of Crony, this man decided to offer the land. Just freely, willingly, let him offer the land, so that this land, the monastery may be built. And when it is built, at least that spiritual sense that had been lost may come back through this monastery. And so we have the Kalani Monastery. Colonies Monastery. In this Colonies Monastery, the rule is ora et labora, pray and work, but work less, pray much. See, so men dedicate themselves to glorify the Lord, to contemplate, to live celibate life for the sake of glory of God, and everything that is pertaining to the monastic life. They need to be saints. They need to make monks who are saints. So we have got the issue of Kalani Monastery. Now, what is the contribution of Kalani's monastery? Remember, the purpose of the Kalani Monastery was to bring the lost sense of spirituality, to bring the lost taste, spiritual sense of the church. And so now the Kalani's reform produces monks who are ready to glorify the Lord, monks who are ready to bring back that spirit of the Pentecost by living silently and praying and all that. And people who are dependable, people from whom the other people can be converted into Christianity again, or can gain back that sense of Christianity that had been lost. And now, I have to tell you, the Kalani's reform, Kalani's monasteries, among the things that they produced, it produced that one, it produced cardinals, bishops, and monks who pioneered and brought the true Reformation. People who fought against the lay investiture until the victory. And secondly, the Kalani's monastery brought reformation in the hearts of people, because with this monastery, the other monasteries emerged. Other monasteries emerged which actually used this Kalani's monastery as a model for their administration and organization and everything. But now let us take from the Kalani's monastery. Now let us see the influence of the Kalani's monastery in the Reformation. In the fight against the lay investiture. Well, I have to tell you something. At the time, Otto, if I have to tell you something, let me tell you. When Otto was ruling, this man was putting into power the bishops. But even when he died, the system continued. Henry III continued to put into power the bishops. Not only the bishops, but also the popes. Remember at the time there were a fight among 3 popes, everyone claiming to be the right pope. And that's when this man entered Henry III, and she was only one pope to rule. See, so even the popes were being appointed by the emperor. So Henry III actually was appointing bishops, popes. Now the question of lay investiture was just a bit difficult, because how could these monks from the Kalani's monastery interfere with the choice of the emperor Henry III? It was a bit difficult. But now, something very wonderful happens. When Henry III chooses Pope Leo IX to be the Pope, this Pope seeks the help from Hildebrand, who was in the Clarence Monastery. And now Hildebrand influences this Pope chosen by Otto, by Henry III, saying, now let us fight against Simon. Let us fight against nepotism. Let us have a ruling. Let us do this and this. And Leo IX listens carefully to this man, saying, oh, let us do it. So the Reformation begins. So Hildebrand influences the popes that are being chosen by the emperors. Now, Reformation begins when Leo IX is chosen to be the emperor. Chosen to be the pope. But then, when Leo IX dies, Hildebrand is given an opportunity to propose. Hildebrand is actually called to be the pope, but he refuses. And when he refuses, he proposes the name of the pope that would rule. That he proposed the Pope Victor II. Say, let Victor II be the Pope. Victor II becomes the Pope. And these two, at that time, Henry III is still ruling. But now, something happens. Henry III too dies. When he dies, he leaves the son, Henry IV, in the hands of Victor II. But Henry IV is so young at that time. He can't decide, he can't put on the popes into power. He can't put the bishops into power. So that becomes an opportunity for the church to put into power its own popes. You see? And now there are many things that occurred. Popes fighting now, the church is fighting among them. Church members are fighting among themselves, who should be the Pope, who should be the Pope. But all in all, Hildebrand finally becomes the Pope, and he takes the name of Gregory VII. Hildebrand, when Hildebrand became the Pope, actually the Reformation now began proper. But at the time when Hildebrand had become a Pope, his Henry IV, unfortunately, had grown up intellectually, and that he could see how things were going. And this man was a bit an obstacle to the Reformation. But anyway, Gregory did the Reformation. Gregory VII. He produced the book, published the book, Dictatus Papae, which actually, the sole purpose of that book was to show the primacy of the Pope in making decisions, in appointing bishops, in appointing even declaring the nullification of emperors. By the way, then this Gregory VII, after having declared that he's so powerful, he is the sun, and he has to, being the sun, and the emperor being the moon, everything had to depend on him. Now he gets opposition. When Gregory VII gets opposed when he speaks about, when he's against Simon, when he's against nepotism, when he's proposing celibacy. Because these people are not ready. They can't live with celibacy because they have concubines, they have wives. The priests are not ready for it. Of course, so Gregory is opposed by the priests. And being opposed by the priests, Gregory actually does not lose hope. He too, priests who opposed were all the same deposed. But now the great opposition came from the Emperor Henry IV. Henry IV, actually, what he did, he refused all those appointments of Gregory VII by proposing or electing his own bishops. And actually, after he had done that, he was too deposed, excommunicated by Gregory VII. And when he was excommunicated, oh my God, he went to ask for pardon. He was forgiven, but actually the danger had already entered the emperor. Rudolph had been appointed to be the emperor already. And now this Henry IV had to fight against Rudolph. He had also to propose the antipope, Clement III. And things were so chaotic in such a way that Henry IV fought against even the Pope Gregory VII, and by its fights, by everything that happened, Pope Gregory VII died out of that, leaving the church, leaving the Reformation in the hands of the other popes. But now, the question came with Henry IV, the son of Henry IV, that is Henry V. This Henry V too did not like the popes to appoint the bishops. He didn't like totally. And so this man did the same. He deposed the popes. I remember Pope Pascal with his 13 cardinals were one day imprisoned. Not only that, Gelasius II, Pope Gelasius II was fighting against Gelasius II, who was actually fighting, who excommunicated Henry V and the anti-pope. Oh, I remember he too ran away from the palace. He ran away from Rome and he went to the Clandestine Monastery till the day when Callistus II became the pope. This Callistus II is the one who brought a thing called the Concordat of Worms. This Concordat of Worms is the one which actually pushed the Gregorian Reformation to its effect. It is the one which made Henry V to surrender. Say, hey, now let me surrender, please. I see you. This fight is unbearable. My anti-popes have been actually put away, and your Pope Callistus is now very strong. Okay, let me just surrender. But finally, the question of the lay investiture came to end when the Lothar of the Wet family became the emperor, because this Lothar of the Wet family is the one who surrendered completely, saying that I leave everything into the hands of the church. Let the church decide for herself. So finally, I'll tell you that I have to give you a summary. The lay investiture was born after the attack of the Vikings, after the rise of feudalism. And the lay investiture, this problem is that the lay was the one putting into power the priests and the bishops. And the Clandestine Monastery produced the puff cardinals who fought tenuously against the lay investiture, till finally it came to an end when the Lothar of the Wet family became the emperor. So I'm very glad that you listened. Thank you for everything. May God bless you.